Welcome to a new week here on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast. If you are 5 to 10 years on either side of retirement and you're looking for some daily quick tips to help you on your path to and through retirement, I'm your guide, Ashley Micciche. I've been a financial advisor for 17 years and I've helped hundreds of clients carve out their own unique roadmap to retirement. I'm also the co-owner of True North Retirement Advisors, a fee-only financial advisory practice managing over $400 million in assets. So this week's theme is what I'm reading in January 2025. Some of the things I come across for topics where I read something and I think, ooh, that would be a great topic for the podcast. But some topics just aren't deep enough to cover for an entire week's worth of episodes. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to talk about each of these articles, different things I've been reading lately that I think are still relevant and useful for you, but are just not broad enough to cover with an entire weekly theme. So each day we'll be talking about something different. We'll talk about the new recommended withdrawal rate for your first year of retirement. We'll talk about market bubbles and whether or not Howard Marks, who is a very famous billionaire investor, whether he thinks that we're in one or not. We'll talk about a prediction that your 401k will be gone within a decade. That's an interesting one. And we'll talk about New Year's resolutions and how to kind of think about them instead to be more successful and to make them stick. Obviously, this time of year, you see all kinds of articles about new health, diets, financial habits, and resolutions. And if we're going to make changes in our life, we want them to be lasting and meaningful, not just something we do for a couple of weeks and then throw our hands up and go back to the old way of doing things. And then I'll talk about another recent change as far as private or alternative investments are concerned, how that might impact you, and how you want to think about some of these things that are coming down the pike. So I'm looking forward to sharing these with you this week. And I wanted to share a quick story, though, with you, because one of the things I wanted to share that sort of landed on the cutting room floor was a book that I'm reading right now. It's called Quit Like a Millionaire. And it's not a new book, but it was recommended to me, back in the fall. And I'm not that far into it, which is part of the reason why I didn't feature it. But the other interesting thing that I noticed about this book is that it's funny because the book is called Quit, but I might actually quit reading this book because I'm only 10 to 20% into the book. And already I don't like some of the ideas that are put forth in this book. It basically talks about kind of how to quit your job, be financially free, talking about cutting down on spending without reducing your quality of life. It's just kind of broad financial advice. If you look on Amazon, it's a very highly rated book. But one of the things that I found interesting that was sort of a red flag is that one of the authors, it's a 2-author book, one of the authors grew up extremely, extremely poor, I believe in China. And they go into detail about some of the circumstances. Like she didn't have her first Coca-Cola until she was like 12 years old. And she saved the can like it was her most prized possession. It was the best thing she had ever experienced in her entire life. And, something we obviously take for granted. Many of us drink several sodas a day. Because that was her background, it really colors her worldview for better or for worse. But she asserts that financial security and financial stability and making sure that you can kind of take care of yourself financially, that is the most important thing in the world. And everything else kind of falls by the wayside in relation to that. Now, I'm paraphrasing here, but you want to be careful about things that you read and always read them with skepticism and questioning and not just blindly take the advice. So I hope whether you're listening to me, whether you're reading an article that is interesting or reading a book written by somebody who grew up in very different circumstances than they're living today, I hope you'll just think about the things that you read and use the information, take the information that's useful for you and cast aside the things that aren't useful for you. Sometimes it can be liberating, even if you're halfway through a book, to be like, no, I'm not interested in continuing with this book. I'm just going to quit this book, which I may end up doing with that book. So anyways, I look forward to sharing some of these thoughts and ideas and articles I've been reading with you this week. Come on back tomorrow. I'm going to talk about the new recommendations out from Morningstar for 2025 that suggest a certain very specific withdrawal rate in your first year of retirement. My name is Ashley Micciche, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.